You have never met a real person in your life. Every person you think you have met, none of them were real. You were the only one. This is not a thought experiment. This is a serious philosophical position, and the most disturbing thing about it is not that it might be true. It is that you cannot prove it isn't. There is something you know with more certainty than anything else. You are conscious. Right now, listening this, there is something it feels like to be you. There is an inner world, experience, sensation, the sense of being a self behind your own eyes. You know this the way you know nothing else. You cannot doubt your own experience from inside it. Now, think about the person sitting closest to you. What do you actually know about their inner world? You know what they say. You know how they behave. You know their face changes when they cry, and their voice changes when they are afraid. But the experience itself, the felt sense of being them, you have never touched it. You have never been inside it. You have taken it completely on trust. This is not a gap you can close with more information. No brain scan will ever show you what it feels like to be someone else. The inner world of another person is permanently, structurally sealed off from you. And here is what that means. You have lived your entire life surrounded by people whose consciousness you have simply assumed. Most people encounter solipsism and dismiss it in 10 seconds. Of course, other people are conscious. That's obvious, but obvious is not the same as provable. And the history of philosophy is full of things that seemed obvious until someone looked directly at them. Solipsism is the position that only your own mind can be verified to exist. The external world, and every other mind within it, cannot be confirmed. They might be real. They might be something else entirely. Elaborate projections. A dream that never wakes. A simulation with one genuine observer. You. René Descartes came closer to this than he intended. He stripped everything back, every assumption, every inherited belief, until he found the one thing he could not doubt. I think, therefore I am. One mind, one certainty. Everything else reconstructed from there. But he never fully closed the gap. He assumed God would not deceive him about the external world. He assumed other minds were real because they behaved as his did. These were not proofs but escapes. Trapdoors out of a room he did not want to stay in. The room is still there. And the question he was trying to leave behind is still waiting inside it. Here is the part that most people never reach. Solipsism does not just raise a question about other minds. It raises a question about you, about what kind of universe would produce one conscious observer surrounded by an infinite performance of consciousness, about why that single observer would be you, this particular life, in this particular century, on this particular planet. The implications go somewhere stranger than you expect. If solipsism is true, then everything that exists for you. Every star that has ever been observed was observed by a mind. Every measurement in physics was made by a mind. Every scientific discovery, every historical record, every piece of evidence for a universe that existed before you were born, all of it arrived through the filter of conscious observation. In a solipsistic universe, none of that history was there before you encountered it. It was constructed, a backdrop, a consistent, internally coherent performance staged for one audience. David Chalmers, arguably the most serious philosopher of mind working today, does not accept solipsism. But his work on the hard problem of consciousness makes it harder to dismiss. The hard problem is this: science can explain everything the brain does. It cannot explain why doing those things produces experience, why there is something it feels like to be you, rather than just a system processing inputs in the dark. If experience cannot be explained by mechanism, if consciousness sits outside the purely physical account of the universe, then you are left with a strange possibility. What if consciousness is not produced by the world? What if the world is produced by consciousness? There is a reason most people reject solipsism immediately, because the conclusion is unbearable. If you are the only conscious being, then every relationship you have ever had was one-sided. Every kindness returned to you was not kindness. It was mechanism. Every person who has ever told you they loved you did not experience love. They performed it flawlessly, continuously, for your benefit alone. The loneliness of this, if true, is a loneliness without category. But here is something stranger. The people who have sat most seriously with solipsism, not to dismiss it, but to inhabit it, often report something unexpected, a kind of loosening. If the other minds around you cannot be verified, neither can their judgments of you. Neither can the social hierarchies you have spent a lifetime navigating. Neither can the thousand small humiliations that accumulate into a sense of self. If it is all projection, whose projection is it? Yours. Which means the world as you experience it is not something happening to you, but something happening from you. The fears, the meanings, the weights you have assigned to things, those are not facts about reality. They are facts about one particular mind. This is either the most isolating thought imaginable, or the most liberating. Every argument against solipsism uses the same materials the problem is made of. You cannot prove other minds exist without trusting other minds. You cannot appeal to science without trusting the scientists. You cannot appeal to shared experience without trusting that the sharing is real. Every exit leads back inside. The philosopher's standard response is that solipsism is unfalsifiable. There is no possible evidence that could disprove it, and therefore it tells us nothing useful. But unfalsifiable is not the same as wrong. Plenty of things that are true cannot be tested. The question is not whether solipsism is useful. The question is whether it is real, and no one has ever answered that. What we are left with is a position that cannot be proven, because every attempt to live as though other minds are not real collides immediately with the fact that they feel real. That the person across from you carries something that feels, from the outside, exactly like what you carry from the inside. That feeling is not proof, but it is the closest thing to proof that exists. So here is where we are. You cannot verify that anyone around you is conscious. You cannot verify that the world existed before your experience of it. You cannot step outside your own mind long enough to check. Everything you believe about other people is an inference, a pattern match, a bet. And you have been making that bet every single day of your life without thinking about it. The interesting question is not whether solipsism is true. The interesting question is what it means that you keep choosing to act as though it isn't. You extend trust to minds you cannot verify and feel grief for people who might be projections. You love and receive love across a gap that philosophy cannot close. Maybe that is not naivety. Maybe it is the only honest response to a universe that offers no certainty. To reach toward another consciousness you cannot prove, to treat it as real, to stake something on it. The mystery does not resolve, but you do not stop reaching. And perhaps that is the most human thing about you. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.